All right, we are going to do some pelvis bones. We're going to do the pelvic girdle. I need one more. I could juggle with them, but that's probably not the best idea. So what we've got here is a hip bone, a coxal bone, and I've got a right and a left, and they are going to come together and they're going to form the pelvic girdle. They're going to form the pelvic girdle. And there's actually two parts of the pelvis. If I put my fingers, if you can see my index and my middle fingers right there, the region above my fingers is going to be called the false pelvis. The region below my fingers is going to be called the true pelvis. And in the back, I mean, it's empty right now, but we would have a sacrum back here forming the posterior part of our circle of our girdle right here. So these are each hip bones. You can call them hip bones, you can call them coxal bones. That's what they are. And there's actually three bones that have joined together. When you were a kid, they were separate bones, but when you get into your 20s, they start to fuse together. And the three bones, we can actually, someone did us a little favor and drew here the separation points. So we've got a bone up here called the ilium, I-L-I-U-M, don't want to misspell it. We've got a bone down here called the ischium. And if you say ischium on your exam, on the pronunciation portion, that'll be marked wrong. Then there's a bone over here, which is the pubic bone, or the pubis. So those are the parts. This is the iliac bone right here, the ilium, and it's got this big ridge up here called the iliac crest. So if you were to put your hands on your hips like this, you're putting my hands on my iliac crests. Another part of the iliac bone we can see is this rough part right here. This is called the auricular surface, and so somebody thought it looked like an ear. I can kind of, if I use my imagination, I can kind of see that. And this is where you articulate with the sacrum, and it's really rough, and the rough surface here allows a really good fit between, oh look what I have right here, the sacrum. Not exactly a perfect fit, but it'll do. And you can see how rough the sacrum is as well, giving us a nice tight fit right there. And that's called the sacroiliac joint that I'm making right there. Other things we can see with the ilium, well, we can see a structure that the ilium contributes to. This guy right here is called the acetabulum, this little socket right here. This is the socket for your femur. So let me grab a femur here. And the femur is going to fit in the acetabulum, so you can go like this. I'm not going to try and demonstrate that. What else do we have? Other things. Well, remember we've got the ischium back here. And we've got the ischium right here. And the ischium has this rough part on the bottom here, this protrusion right here. This is the ischial tuberosity. So if you're sitting down right now in a chair, stick your hand under your butt and try and find the bone that you're sitting on. And what you're sitting on, your sitting bone in your butt, is your ischial tuberosity on each side. What else? We've got the pubic bone here. And the pubic bone is going to form the anterior part of our pelvis. And the two pubic bones are going to unite. And the surface at which they unite is called the pubic symphysial surface, because the joint between the two pubic bones is called a symphysis, and it's a fibrocartilage joint, which makes it very, very, very strong. What else? On an exam, you may have to be able to, and when I say may, I mean will, have to know whether it is a left or a right. And one of the things you can do is make sure this auricular surface is pointing in, acetabulum is pointing out, and the symphysial surface is in and towards the front. And there's one other structure we have to be aware of, this big hole, which is called the obturator foramen. It looks really impressive, but in reality it's covered by a thick membrane and only a few small blood vessels and nerves go through it. And that is about it for the pelvis. Why don't I grab a femur, since I've got a femur handy right here. And this is a nice looking femur. It's got a nice head right here. And we saw how the head of the femur is going to articulate with the acetabulum of the coxal bone. So there's the head of the femur, the neck of the femur, and we have a bump right here. This is a big bump, and I can find mine right there. It helps to be extremely skinny for doing the bones. And that's called the greater trochanter. And if you're going to try and move your leg out, like I'm doing with my leg right here, I've got muscles pulling on my greater trochanter, pulling it out like that, pulling it up and out. That's the greater trochanter. It always has to be on the outside. A little more towards the back and inside is another structure bulging out called the lesser trochanter. And it's always got to be more to the back and more to the inside. In the back, there's a sharp ridge, a sharp line, which is called the linea aspera, which means sharp line, literally. What else do we have? If we go to the bottom here, we've got a pair of occipital, did I mean to say occipital? I should make mistakes in these just to check and see whether or not people are
paying attention.
Yeah. So we've got these femoral condyles here. These are going to articulate with the tibia. And I got a tibia right here. And look, there's from an old lab practical. There was so question number 46. I don't know what it was, but we're gonna articulate like so. And actually matches up pretty well. We've got these two condyles. There's going to be a lateral one and there's going to be a medial one. So we're going to have a lateral femoral condyle and a medial femoral condyle. Now above them we're going to have an epicondyle, which we see right here. This is the lateral one and there's a medial one. And when I said this is the lateral one, I meant this was the medial one. This is the medial epicondyle, and there is a lateral one as well, and muscles and ligaments are going to attach to that. What else? What else? What else? What else? We got a smooth surface here where the patella can glide, and that's called the patellar surface. And I think that's pretty much it for the femur and the pelvis. So next time, we'll do the tibia, fibula, and the foot and the ankle, and all that good stuff. See you later.